This video is kindly sponsored by Squarespace. Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today we are going to get into my Q1 update. That means in corporate girly speak, allegedly, I think, because I'm not a corporate girly myself, so I don't really know, but Q1 I think is just like the first quarter of the year. Yeah, quarter one, quarter quill, I don't know. This is basically the first 25% of the year, checking in. What is going on with my reading? What are my trends? Am I sticking to my goals? What are my stats? What am I actually reading compared to what I think that I'm reading? And what are my top 5 best books and worst books of the year as it stands so far? I am so excited to get into all of it with you. You guys know I'm a nerd, okay? I am a stats girl and I have some adorable stats to share with you. And I also want to rave about my favorites and drag my worst through the mud. But before we get to that, as I mentioned, today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. So let me tell you a bit about them if you don't already know. If you've never heard of Squarespace before, they basically help you design and run your own website. Whether that's for your small business or anything under the sun, they help you stand out online where there are millions and millions and millions of options so your website can succeed. You can claim your domain with Squarespace, which is really important. Showcase everything that you want to offer on your website if you want to sell things, if you want to take donations, and overall just represent and grow your brand authentically. And as a small business owner, both for this channel and all my social media work and also as a therapist outside of YouTube, I know all about the struggles of being a small business owner. It is hard. It is hard to do it alone, and thank God you don't have to with Squarespace. They make creating your own website really easy. As you can see, they have really intuitive tools. SEO, I have found, is like the #1 factor. If you don't know what that is search engine optimization. And Squarespace is optimized to be indexed with all different kind of metadata to get you the best SEO possible. And that just means you're going to show up more in searches and be shown more to your ideal customer. The actual designing of the website is super easy as well. It is like drag and drop style. It is super intuitive. You can even use their AI templates, which make everything really easy. It's basically done for you. No experience is required. And there are so many different plugins that you can put on your website very easily. Like I mentioned earlier, you can sell things. You can create listings on your website with Squarespace. You can also collect donations, and you can also set up email campaigns to keep in touch with any of your contacts from your website. I love Squarespace as a small business owner, and I hope it will be helpful for you guys too, whether you are just starting out or you're scaling your business. When you are ready to launch your website with Squarespace, you can use my code for 10% off. I will have it all listed down below. Hit my link, get your 10% off of your brand new, beautiful, and easy to use website with Squarespace. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and now let's go ahead and get into my Q1 update. We will start out with my stats. So far this year, I have read 48 books in total, which my reading goal is 100 books. I put it at 100 every single year. So to be only a quarter of the way through the year and be about halfway through my reading goal feels like really great progress. And I am very conservative with my goal every year. I do usually read about 200 books a year, but I just put my goal at 100 because mentally that's what feels the best for me. So that's what I do. And across those 48 books, I've read a total of 15,194 pages, which is just absolutely insane. Think of the dissertations I could have read, but instead I wasted it all on fluffy romances and do-nothing thrillers. Oh, she's not an intellectual, but she's having so much fun. And then I also wanted to break down my number of books that I've read across the genres so you guys could see how much I'm reading of each genre. So my top genre was thrillers. I read 22 thrillers in total this year so far. I read 13 horror books, 8 romance, and 8 fantasy. I never would have guessed that I read almost an equal amount of fantasy and romance compared to horror. It feels like I read dramatically more horror than those other two genres, but it's about the same. I mean, 13, 8, somebody do that math. I don't know, but it feels like similar feeling numbers to me. Of course, we have thrillers at the top, to no one's surprise, but what is a surprise is my most read authors. So only 48 books. Okay, it's a kind of small pool in the grand scheme to think about the authors that I've read from the most. And all of these top 3 authors are authors that are brand new to me. I had never read anything from these 3 most read authors of 2025 before the year 2025. The first author we have is Carissa Broadbent. I've read 4 of her books so far this year. Obviously, I started the Crowns of Nyaxia series, which is made up of 3 different duologies. There are novellas and prequels in between the different duologies, so that is where the bulk of my reading has gone to. And I don't read a ton of series, so when I do read one, that author is going to quickly go to the top of my most read of the year list. My other 2 most read authors of the year are tied because I've read the same amount of books from them this year, which is 2. Kind of crazy that I've only read more than 1 book from 3 authors so far this year. She gets around, okay? She does not show loyalty to one author and one alone. We like to read all across the board. But those 2 authors are Mia Ballard and Anna Dorn. I have fallen in love with these 2 authors. Anna Dorn writes more funny literary fiction, self-aware, weird girl, campy thriller vibes. And I love her writing style. And similarly, Mia Ballard has quickly risen to the top of my favorites list after doing a taste test video on her this year. If you missed that video, I will link it up above and down below because I loved everything I read so much. And Mia Ballard writes more intense, gritty, good for her horror and thriller books. My average rating across all 48 books that I've read so far this year was a 4.04. I feel like that's insane for an average rating to be above 4 stars. Like, I am really genuinely loving everything that I'm reading, and I have theories as to why this average rating is so high, which I will kind of talk about in a second when I go through my reading goals for 2025 and the reading trends that have emerged from following those goals pretty closely. I think I'm doing things that lend myself to picking up reads that I enjoy more. And just a note on this, I really want to consider that. Like, that is really important to me, that I'm actually reading things that I'm enjoying, because I find it a bit insufferable to be consuming content, especially book content, from someone who hates what they're engaging with. Like, I can't watch ranty kind of content that much anymore unless I really love the personality of the person who's doing the ranting. I just don't think it's very entertaining or fun to watch someone dislike what they're reading. So I'm doing a lot to personally make sure that my relationship with reading is positive and I'm genuinely enjoying everything that I'm reading in order to make it a partly good experience to view me as I read, because this is a huge part, the biggest part of the content that I make, just me reading books. So if I'm not enjoying it and I'm not reading things that I like, what the fuck is the point? You know what I mean? So that's just a side note to say my rating is so high, not accidentally, because I'm putting in work to enjoy the things that I'm doing. And when I say work, I don't mean that I'm forcing myself to read a bunch. I mean work in the more mental sense. We'll get into it in a second. But my breakdown across that average rating is I've had 13 5-star books so far this year, 17 4-star books, various other lower numbers of 3 stars, 3.5 stars, 2.5 stars, and 2 stars, but I've had 0 1-star reads. Zero. There's been something at least a little redeeming about every book that I read. And I will say, getting away from, I'm gonna say it, indie published books has really lent itself to me enjoying the books that I'm reading more. I'm sorry. I love my indie authors. I love indie published books that are really well written. The problem is, without an institution around you, sometimes indie published books can feel like the wild, wild west, and they're not good a lot of the time. And I will say, specifically within the horror genre, the further that I get away from KU horror and KU extreme horror, the less 1 stars that I have. However, Miss Mia Ballard is the exception, because y'all need to go run and support her, okay? Do not buy her books on Amazon. What are you doing? You shopping on Amazon right now? Go shop on her website directly, because if there is one indie author you should be supporting, if you are a horror lover, an extreme horror lover, it is her. She is the exception to that rule. I'm sure there are many other exceptions to that rule, and I can't wait to discover them, but those are just some trends that I've noticed. So let's get into my goals check-in. At the top of 2025, I did say that I wanted to read slower, and I wanted to be more intentional with my reading. I also wanted to consider that I am a mood reader and a seasonal reader, and to stick less to a structured TBR if that's what I was wanting, and gravitate more to the books that were seasonally and emotionally relevant to me at the time that I'm picking them up. And I'm happy to report I have done all of those things. All of those goals that I set out were, like I mentioned earlier, designed to help me enjoy reading more. I think your relationship to reading when you read on the internet as content can change and get really toxic really quickly. I've seen that from afar, from booktubers that I used to love. I've seen that in my face from other booktubers that I am friends with and that I chat with. And I've also seen it a bit in myself, especially at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. I was so confused. I was just ready to throw all my reading tastes out the window and start from scratch, because I didn't know what I liked anymore. I just know that I was kind of resenting reading because it felt like it took up so much time, but there was so much pressure to do it, not only because I do enjoy it, but also because I make content around it. It's a really nuanced thing. I would love to have a bigger conversation about this phenomenon, maybe with other creators. If you are a creator, big, small, I literally don't care, and you're interested in talking about this with me, please, please, please DM me. Please talk about it in the comments. I would love to know. But yeah, I wanted to fix my relationship with reading. So those goals were designed to do that. I've been sticking to those goals really, really closely and definitely seen a drastic improvement. I mean, we can see it just based in the stats, having an average rating over a 4-star. I'm clearly enjoying reading, and reading slower is a big part of that. I feel like intentionally letting myself take a week to read a book, even if it means that I have less books to talk about in my wrap up, is so, so important to me. It helps me fight the pressure of just cram in more books, just read more, just have this, just read all the new releases so you can be the first one to get your review out and get your reading vlog up and da 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 da. No, I'm sorry. That ruins my reading experience, and I love reading. I've loved reading since I was a little tiny girl in kindergarten, okay? I am not gonna fuck with my inner child by bending to the pressure of fucking YouTube. No, hell no. And also, because I'm allowing myself to read slower and read kind of like what's right in front of me, what's relevant to me, like I talked about with being a mood reader and a seasonal reader, I'm reading more physically, so I am completing more of my physical TBR. I have read dramatically less audiobooks this year, and I think that definitely has helped my level of enjoyment because I'm simply comprehending better. I am not someone that needs an audiobook to comprehend a book. In fact, I think because I'm a little ADHD distractible and highly anxious and not always the best multitasker, I think I do read better and comprehend better when I read physically. Obviously, if you are different from me, if you have different reading needs, audiobooks could be your thing and you can comprehend so much better with an audiobook. I know that I am not that way. And I think a majority of people who are not disabled are also that way, just because of the rampantness of ADHD within our society that nobody seems to want to talk about, but maybe that's a separate conversation. Y'all know the intersection of mental health and reading is kind of where I lie. So I'm always kind of thinking about those things. And yeah, reading slower, reading physically, reading from less audiobooks and more of what's physically in front of me on my massive physical TBR has been really great. And I'm loving those trends. And I've also found with sticking to these goals, another trend that's emerged is that I'm reading from a wider range of genre rather than pressuring myself to read for a specific type of video or do this specific thing or read more from this because that's what people want to see. I'm just letting myself read whatever I want, and I'm actually reading more diversely than when I was putting pressure on myself to do so. Because when I'm in the mood for a romance, I just pick up a romance. And because when a new fantasy series that comes out, I want to read it, I'm more apt to read it than putting pressure on myself. I think I talked about this in a video recently where I have this little rebel that sits on my shoulder and she is a part of me and I feel her very deeply. And she sits on my shoulder here and she says, hey girl, whatever the rules are, whatever the expectations are, whatever the pressure is, do the opposite. Do it. Do the opposite. Do it. And I love that part of me and I like to let her thrive, but doesn't really work out really well when I put a ton of pressure on myself to do something specific. So giving myself this open freedom with my reading has just been great. I feel so much less resistance. My relationship to my books has healed dramatically, and I think a lot of content creators should do this. If you've been thinking about doing this kind of thing, you don't have to do anything massive. I literally just set these goals out for myself and I stuck to them. You should do it too if you feel any kind of constriction on your relationship to books. So that has been my stats, my goals and trends. Now let's get into my top 5. My top 5 worst and my top 5 best of 2025 so far. We will start out with the worst, okay? If you watched my most recent new release thriller vlog, then you saw how painful it was for me to get through one of those books. If you missed that vlog, I will link it up above and down below so you can see, because I had so much fun. Actually, one of my best is from that video and one of my worst is from that video. So it's kind of chaotic, but I loved it. One of my top 5 worst of the year is What the Wife Knew by Darby Kane. I love Darby Kane, and honestly, this plot was not bad. It was like fine. Was it shocking? No. Was it engrossing? Not really. But it was a fine thriller plot. What really lacked enjoyment for me in this story was the lack of description and character development. It felt like this plot almost unfolded in a vacuum. Like I had no imagery of where we were setting wise. I had no description of what anything looked like. No description of our characters. It was simply just pawns being moved on a board that was the plot. And I need a little bit more than that to feel attached to a thriller and to care about the events that are unfolding. What this book follows is a woman whose husband dies, and after 3 attempts on his life, he's finally taken out, and she's like, fuck, I don't know who's been doing this and who killed him, but that was supposed to be my job because I was trying to take him out too. So we are trying to figure out why she wanted to do that, what her attempts were, who made the other attempts, and what ultimately killed him. Overall, it was really boring, it was really lacking, and I give it a 2-star. Next up, we have A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This book is another thriller. It is a cold, snowy, isolated thriller about a woman who goes on vacation with her new boyfriend and his family, and they are rich and they have secrets, and she uncovers some of those familial secrets while she's out there at this ski chalet getaway. And she also uncovers a photograph of her young self at the same location. So So she starts to wonder, is this as kismet as she once thought her relationship was, or has something sinister been going on since she was a child that led her to this moment? Sounds really intriguing. And I will say it was super, super atmospheric. I love a snowy, isolated setting, and this definitely gave me that. My main issue with this book was kind of the opposite of the last one. It was giving me development, it was giving me description, it was giving me atmosphere, but that plot was weak. There were so many plot holes. There was so much and then with no connection, no flow, and no real twist at the end of the day. That was the thing that made me give it 2 stars, was the twist was basically, oh guys, like I think it's this actually. Oh wait, no, never mind. You flipped the page and it's just kidding. It's actually this. Oh wait, you just read 2 more pages. Yeah, no, we actually got it wrong again. It's definitely this. Like, I'm not down for a Scooby-Doo kind of reveal in an adult thriller, okay? It was just a little bit childish for me. Next up we have, unfortunately, another thriller. This one is a serial killer POV. She is a woman who kills men. We love to see it, okay? She's a female Dexter. This Girl's a Killer by Emma C. Wells. I did end up giving this one 2 stars. I loved the plot. It's honestly a great setup for a series. It was super exciting all the way through. My main gripe that made me actually angry, like viscerally angry as I was reading this book, was the main character herself, Celia Black. Celia Black. She talked in the 3rd person the entire book, and it was so insufferable. I cannot describe to you how many times I would shut the book, like slam it angrily and be like, Celia Black, Celia Black. Please stop talking in the 3rd person like you're hot shit, because you're literally a murderer. Okay, I'm done. Her character development was horrible. I loved the story, but I hated seeing it through her lens. She was not sympathetic at all. She was condescending and she was arrogant and she thought she was hot shit. There was no self-reflection about the fact that she was murdering. And I love a little murderer main girly. Y'all will know, based on my top 5 books of the year so far, I have nothing against women killing. I actually love that trope. Celia Black just did it in a way that made me want to smack her across the face. Next up, we have another 2-star, but this one is not a thriller. We have a romance, a very hyped romance at that, and that is The Great BBL, okay? Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, unfortunately. Usually Emily Henry's new releases end up in my best of the year. Unfortunately, not in 2025. This one was a total flop. I think Emily Henry didn't know what she was doing with this one. This is my conjecture only, but I think she was trying to hop on the trend of Taylor Jenkins Reid and Lane Fargo and The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. Okay, she wanted to do the thing where main characters are telling the story of this great grand mogul who has never had their story told before, and we are getting the exclusive take. And it was going to be these 2 authors competing to tell this woman's story, but each one of them was only getting certain pieces of the information. It sounds like a great like docu-style book with a lot of mystery and intrigue around this person, and with an Emily Henry cutesy banter romance carrying us through. Like, it sounds like a dream, but in reality, it was a flop, okay? It was so boring. I did not give a fuck about this mogul character. And that's really the main thing you have to make a book like Evelyn Hugo or The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Like, to make a story like that, this untold story, work, you have to care about the story that has never been told before. And I did not care about this woman, okay? I did not care at all. So you're thinking, okay, the thing that kept you holding on was the romance, right? No, the romance had 0 chemistry. Everything felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, I remember the first kiss scene coming up and being like, what was that? James? Like, did anyone see that coming? Because I didn't. Did anyone feel the tension? Because I didn't. Did anyone get the chemistry? Because I did not. The last book to round out the top 5 worst books that I've read this year is unfortunately a previous Pretty Girl Book Club pick for me, and that was Close Your Eyes and Count to 10 by Lisa Unger. This sold itself as a social media live stream game that is deadly, and people start dying one by one on live. We have to figure out who is doing this and also figure out who's going to win the game, survive, and win $1 million. Okay, I was very invested. I was ready to read this fun, exciting, murderous game. And then it was none of that. Okay, it was absolutely none of that. We got no game, and it was just a bunch of social media drama, influencer bullshit. And half the perspectives that we followed, more than half actually, were not actually contestants in the game. It was boring. It was dumb. It had a little shade of victim blaminess to it with the reveals and the twist. I didn't love that at all. So I didn't want to put a 1 on it. It's not atrocious, but it's not something that I would recommend. And it is my worst book of the year. But let's end on a good note. Let's go over my top 5 best books of 2025 so far. Wrapping up Q1 with the best of the best. First up, we have a book that I referenced earlier, and that is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Now, if you want that documentary style, untold story, drama, emotion, fucked up weird relationship dynamics, and all the exciting thrills of watching something wild play out at the Olympic Games, you have to read The Favorites, okay? Carrie Soto is Back was one of my babies. What's going on? Carrie Soto is Back is one of my favorites from last year. She was one of my babies, okay? I love that book so much. And this book reminded me a lot of that because of the following a strong female athlete plot. And in this book, we are following this skating duo couple who were at the Olympics and had this big explosive thing happen between them. Their story has yet been untold, and now they're coming back years and years later to tell the world what exactly was going down during their iconic Olympic run, everything that led up to it, and all the fallout after. It is juicy, it is dramatic, it is emotional, it is heartfelt, it is funny, it is dark, it is thrilling, it is every single thing that you could ever imagine and want in a book that you cannot put down. Lane Fargo knows how to write a very calculated woman who is very, very sympathetic at the same time. I love her writing style. I love the atmosphere. The character dynamics are really the star though, and I'm just going to be recommending this one forever. Next up, we have a nonfiction that I cannot stop recommending, not only to y'all, but to people in my real life, to my clients, to everyone, and that is Women Living Deliciously by Florence Given. This is all about how to live deliciously, how to find the perfect brand of delicious that works for you, rather than following some trite advice that is branded for everyone. How to find what works for you from within yourself through the lens of feminism and considering all the factors that are abound within our world right now. How do we fit ourselves in and enjoy life as the world is seeming to burn? And I love it. It considers a lot of things and references a lot of things that I use in my practice that I really admire as a mental health professional. Seeing someone who is not licensed write in such a careful, considering, intentional way is very, very important to me, because there are a lot of people out here who are not licensed, who are not mental health professionals, giving mental health advice in a very authoritative way that is just incorrect and really unethical. Florence Given does not do that at all. She really puts it on the reader to do a lot of thinking and a lot of work around interpreting the text in the way that works for you. And I think that is the most ethical and most valuable way to do self-help. I love this book. Next up, we have an extreme horror book from Miss Mia Ballard. We have Shy Girl, okay? This book is about a woman who is down on her luck and she gets on seeking arrangements, okay? She's like, daddy, please help me. Please somebody be my daddy, and please somebody help me and support me. And she comes across this one man who's down to support her financially. The only thing she has to do is be his dog. Yeah. Be his little doggy, arf arf, get on the floor and bark. But it becomes so much more sinister in the end. This book ripped my soul out, okay, and stomped on it. Horrifying, but at the same time, it was satisfying. And it was gratifying. And it was a crazy wild ride that I could not look away from. I was simultaneously cheering and screaming my head off for this main character and also absolutely horrified of her. And that is really how every woman should be at one point or another in her life. I think That's what it takes to come into your agency in a world that does not want you to have any. And I love this book. I love the writing style. I love the character development. I love the gore and the grossness and the horror. I love the meaning and the message. It's all perfect. This is what I've been begging the world for in an extreme horror book. Mia Ballard gave it to me and I could not be more grateful. Next up, we have my favorite thriller of the year, and that is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. If you know me, you know Don't Fuck with Cats has been my hyperfixation since I was a child. The Luca Magnotta case and the entire investigation of it, how armchair detectives basically solved and could have prevented real life murders that occurred. It interests me to no end. The true crime community interests me to no end. The way that I was a part of it and now I'm not, and I'm very strictly dead set against it, that kind of arc is very interesting to me. All of those things are referenced, talked about, explored in This Book Will Bury Me, with a very intriguing thriller plot line as well. The conversations about the true crime community in this book are unparalleled, unmatched. There's so much nuance that the girls who don't get the nuance think that this is problematic. And I think when you capture riding the fence so specifically that people misinterpret your intentions because you show so much empathy for both sides, I think that is masterful. And I think that is exactly what's happened with This Book Will Bury Me. It is so good. Not only the depth of the insights and the conversations opened up about the true crime community within this book, but also the character development, the talk about grief, the talk about online and being chronically online, and how that can be you coping with your own mental health struggles and avoiding what's actually going on in here. Loved that. The actual murder mystery of it all was super intriguing. I just kept flipping pages, girl. I don't know what to tell you. This is a long ass chunk of a book and it didn't feel that long to me. I ate it up. 5 stars, easy, boots down. Houston, I'm deceased. But my best book of 2025 so far is really no competition. And if you watched my wrap up, when did I read this? February? I think I read this in February or March. Whatever wrap up that I talked about this book in, I think I talked about it for 8 minutes straight. I didn't leave all 8 minutes of my wrap up, but I could not shut up about this book. And it's because it's my favorite of the year, and that is Perfume and Pain by Anna Dorn. This book is perfect. If you are a zillennial queer girl who's on the internet and watches reality TV, you're gonna feel the most represented you've ever felt in your entire life reading this book. This book is basically about an unhinged everyday woman. Okay, this is about us when we are at our most unhinged self and we're spiraling a little, and maybe we're manic a little, and maybe we're falling into our addiction, and maybe our anxiety is kind of running our life, and maybe we said some things and it wasn't exactly how we meant it and we got canceled. Okay, that's what happens to this woman, and we're following her floundering in this place as she is falling in love with a woman on her Zoom writing group, which is just so of the time, and also navigating life in LA as she's straddling the line between infamy and some level of fame. And she's also trying to get to know herself and where she belongs in the context of relationships, but also just individually. And it's really funny, it's really dark, it's intriguing, it's twisty. I highlighted 1 million different things within this book because I just related so much to it, and it just captures my experience as a upper middle class queer white woman so well. And this is not a community that we necessarily need more representation for, but I definitely did appreciate it boots down. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend it. And that's gonna be it. That is all for my Q1 update. I'm excited to do these for Q1 and Q3. Of course, I will be doing this at the halfway point of the year. I'll just call it the mid-year freakout tag because that's where everybody calls it. And then we'll wrap it up at the end of the year with my best and worst videos. But I love these kind of stat check-in, wrap up points of the year, and I'm happy to get my first one out for 2025. I'm having such a good reading year, and I hope you are too. Let me know down below how your 2025 reading is going for you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and hanging out with me today. If you liked it and you want to hang out more the next time I post a video, why don't you give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to go down below, check out my link, check out Squarespace. Thank you so much again to their sponsoring of this video. And of course, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. And I will see you guys in my next video.